This video is all about sharing and saving your graphs in Desmos. Stick around until the end because I've got another great tip for you. So we're here in Desmos. I'm going to go right into the graphing calculator, and I'm going to start by saving just a really simple graph like y is equal to 3. Now the save button does pop up for me. I'm already signed in, and you'll want to be signed in. Desmos is totally free. So you'll want to be signed in here. I'm going to go ahead and hit save, and it says, what do you want to call this? This one's a horizontal line, but I'm saving it in my family of functions. So I'm going to call this a constant function, and then I'm going to hit save. The other thing that I want to do though is to add this to my folder of common graphs. I'm going to click on the folder here, or you can go Control O or Command O on your computer. So going into our graphs, here's my constant function. I've got some statistics graphs. I've got some common graphs. I want to add this right into my common graphs. I am just clicking, holding, and dragging to drop it right into that common graphs. Now, if I open up that folder, I'm just going to click on that and open it up, I can see all of the graphs that I've got here. We can also open this up in gallery view, which is really helpful, and it opens it up on another page. So I can have this open and go back and forth between Desmos and my gallery without having to reopen my file each time. Okay, so those are the folders. Now let's talk about sharing your graphs. So I'm going to go ahead and close my gallery. I'm also going to close out this folder because I want to add a graph, an interactive one, to my assignment here in Canvas. So even if you're not a teacher, I'm going to show you some great ways of sharing your graph, and this might be with a friend of yours or to add it to an assignment. So I've got this assignment here. What are the transformations of functions? So I'm going to click Edit. And I write down here, let me make a little more room. So right down here, I want to include a screen of Desmos that I've already created with our quadratic in vertex form. So we're going to go ahead and build that. And then I also want to get a graph that they're going to replicate. So back over here to Desmos, let's go ahead and create that. I'm going to first get rid of my y equals 3 by clicking the X. And I'm going to put my quadratic function here in vertex form. Now you could use f of x or y equals. I'm just going to use y equals to keep things a little bit cleaner. And here comes vertex form. Now once I've got that, it says, do you want to add some sliders? Yes, I want to add some sliders. I also want to set this to the parent function, so it is actually at y equals x squared. So we're going to leave a at 1, but I want to change the h and the k, the coordinates of that vertex, to be 0, 0, just clicking on those numbers and changing them to 0, 0. Now let's share it. Before I share it, I do want to save it. And notice that I did this right over my constant function. So I don't want to save this on top of my constant function. Instead, I'm going to use the arrow, and I am going to duplicate it. So duplicating this one, and this one is my quadratic transformations. Save. Okay, now I'm ready to share. Over here in the right-hand corner, I've got this sharing icon. I'm going to click on Share the Graph. So Desmos is giving me two choices here. The first one is to share a snapshot, and that will share exactly as is right now. Any changes that I make in the future will not be changed to anybody that is looking at the shared snapshot. The second one is to share my saved graph. If I choose this option, it gives me the ability to make changes, and those changes are reflected in anything that I've shared with others. Now for this first part of the assignment, I really just want to share a snapshot. So I'm going to choose that, and I've got two different options. I can either copy the link, which is a great way to go, but I really want to embed this into Canvas. So I'm going to open up the embedded code, and it shows up there already highlighted. So I'm going to copy this with a Control-C. If you're on a Mac, you do a Command-C. Now let's go back over to Canvas. I'm going to put my cursor exactly where I want that graph. And then I'm going to go Insert and then Embed. You could also do this in something like Google Classroom or on a website. So I'm going to do Embed, and then I want to do a Control-V to paste. If you're on a Mac, you would do a Command-V. So Control-V here to paste. There's a couple of things about this code and Canvas that I want to change though. So before you hit Submit, I want you to go up here to the code and see this question mark embed. this will embed just the graph and not the expression list. So I want to get rid of that question mark embed. I'm going to hit delete. And then I also don't want this to be a square form. I want this to be the shape of my computer screen, which means that I've got a longer width than I have a height. So a really great rule of thumb here is to use a 9:6 ratio. So I'm going to call this one 900 for the width, and then let's do 600 for the height. Everything else can stay the same, and then I'm going to hit submit. That turned out great. Now it is pretty big, so let me go over here to my array of dots and resize our editor so we can get a better look. So notice that I've got this one exactly as I had that snapshot, 0, 0 for the vertex with no vertical stretch or compression. Okay, so I've got that first one in there, and let me just show you quickly. Let me hit save and just show you quickly what this looks like for the students. So now the students they can play around with these, they can play around with these as well, just as if they were in Desmos. And notice they don't even need to be signed in. They can also click on these numbers and set it back like we had done to the original. So 0, or they can use the back arrow for the undo to get it back to the original. Okay, so that is the interactive version. Super cool, right? But I also want to give them, let me scroll down here a little bit, but I also want to give them a picture of a graph for them to replicate. Okay, so I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to create one where I have A is equal to 1, but I want that vertex to be instead at 2, -1. So I'm going to let H be 2, and I am going to let K be a -1. Okay, so K is a -1. I want to share this image, and I can move this around and get the center just a little bit better since I'm sharing an image now. I'm going to zoom in. I also want to change what the grid looks like. So let's get the wrench out here, and I do not want those minor grid lines. And I do want a step of 1. If yours doesn't show up, you can type a step of 1 here. Mine showed up. Great. Okay, so that looks great. And then we can also do something a little more bold. Now you could just share a screenshot here. That would work great, but Desmos gives you the ability to share a screenshot as well. So I'm going to click the share graph, and this time I want to export an image. So I'm going to choose export image, and you can play around with the line thickness. I can also change the file format. PNG works great, and I can change the size. I'm going to go ahead and leave it medium. I'm going to download this. Notice it ended up right there in my download tray. Let's go back over to our assignment. And if you're a student, this is something that you could just paste now right into your assignment. But I want to put it here on my assignment page. So we want to edit this page in Canvas. Leave. I want to edit the page in Canvas, and scrolling down here, I am going to go right here, putting my cursor where I want that graph. It's centered, which is fine. And I'm going to insert this image. So I'm going to go insert image, upload image. Remember it was in downloads, so I'm going to click the rocket ship to upload an image. I am here in downloads, and there's that graph that I wanted, and then I'll hit open. I'm also going to add some alt text to this. So this is a parabola graphed in Desmos with vertex. Vertex is 2, -1, parenthesis. Okay, and then submit. Now this is an image, so you could resize this. So you can click on it, click, hold, and drag on those blue square corners to resize. I can go ahead and hit save, and I've got my assignment exactly like I want for my students. I almost forgot to share that tip with you, but it's a good one. So I'm back here in Desmos. I'm gonna click over on the file, that open graph in the upper left-hand corner, and we were here before looking at our graphs and our files, but we didn't click on examples. So if you need a really great example, these are already all pre-programmed. You can edit them, you can save them. Desmos has an amazing library of graphs for you to use. I would love to know how you share your work in Desmos. Let me know down in the comments below. I've got another video for you here.